Good day to you, my dear sign of Pisces, my little fishies. I just started shuffling the cards for your shadow work, and your very first position, center denial. I was asking about this, and this card popped out, and now we have a couple more. Holy balls. Okay, so are you overworking yourself? Are you stressed, worried, and carrying too heavy of a burden? And if it's such the case, can you delegate a little? Can you find assistance? Can you find someone to take a little bit off your shoulders? On the positive side, this is also an ending. On the negative side, you are too stubborn and stuck in this situation, carrying all the weight, doing all the work, and you are basically burning the candle by both edges and driving yourself on the highway express road to the bloody grave or burnout. So I would suggest you drop off your sticks if you can, delegate, and please take care of yourself. The following cards that popped out as I was shuffling and still in this energy of burdensome and being overworked and stressed were on one hand related to work with this Eight of Pentacles, but on the other hand also involving emotionality with the Ten of Cups. So this is like the perfect happy family card. Moving away. So do you need to travel? Are you far away from your happiness, your complete, unalterated, untouchable, unquestionable, yeah, like that perfect happiness? Are you moving away from that for work, or have you moved out of that for work? What is this work that is so demanding of you that you feel overburdened, exhausted, potentially like not abused, but like if you're clocking in too many hours and have so much overtime? I do understand that overtime money is good money, but if it's at the detriment of your health and well-being and requires you to be far away from just being happy and content and fulfilled, is it really worth it? I'm just asking the question. And now let's get back to your spread. Is this clear? It is. Okay. Pieces. Are you also being hyper defensive about a renewal, an apology, a second chance, something of the sort, of revival of something that has been ended? Was it ended too soon, too brutally, without proper judgment, without proper hearing of both sides? And why are you so defensive about it? It was something weary that is exhausting you, and you are still hoping for the cavalry to come in. Is the cavalry this second coming, this second chance, or are you defending yourself and having your back to this second chance? We are still in your center denial position. These two cards popped out, so I'm gonna address them. Hello there, Pisces. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Pisces, you know, the fish sign. Anyway, so this is your shadow work spread. Shadow work is about addressing unaddressed issues that are currently burdening, hindering you, stopping your growth, chaining you down in misery, pain, anxiety, stress, as we have in these two cards on the left side, and so that you have to be less defensive as this card, so you have your wish fulfillment and be happy and prosperous and at peace with yourself and your surrounding. Hi, I'm the witch bitch that reads your soul. I'm the broken people's mechanic. Boom, tagline. Anyway, so the previous read I did was the sign of Sagittarius, and they had the same tower card in the same position in the center. So I will laugh my head off, and I apologize in advance if your other matching card will be the Two of Cups, which was theirs. Kind of curious actually. Okay, no, you got another card. See, in the Sag read, this was associated with the Star card, so at least the universe is not making an absolute fool of myself in this read. Before we proceed, I'm gonna take a sip of tea. I will toss the cards to the side. I will use a cute little wooden tray that will place in the middle. We're gonna place the cards that I'm gonna be analyzing and talking about on that said little tray. I will zoom you in and I will ask you to either just listen to me like a podcast or focus in on the imagery of the card and allow yourself to take a more proactive, participative exchange with me in this read for you. See how you feel, how does the imagery make you feel, what it strikes in you, in your emotional, intellectual, psychological, spiritual aspect of yourself. So basically how this makes you feel, and are you cognizant enough to rationally analyze what specifically triggers you and how and why. Because the more you know, the more power you have over the unknown, and if you have more power over the unknown, you have a clearer path to navigate yourself in these dark, murky waters, these dark roads that life is most of the time. So let us proceed. I'm just tossing everything to the side so we have a clear space in the middle. I present you my famous little wooden platter tray thingy, McQueenie. Nice and center. I'm gonna zoom you in. Okie dokie dokie. So, first off, your center, your denial. What negatives or positive people point out to me that I have difficulty accepting? What does this represent in your life? Your blind spot, something that hinders your growth. And like I said right after that, we have the tumultuous energy of the tower that is broken down by God or the universe or whatever you believe in, because it's built on shaky foundations. This is an upheaval. This is literally an earthquake or the lightning strike, but being powerful enough to destroy the Tower of Babel. The question is here, what heights were you trying to reach that were built on false and shaky and weak foundations? For example, or not example, but you know, in the Bible we have that story about a man building his house or his castle on sand, and how that was a weak foundation and the tide or something destroyed it. Well, this is the same thing. So you don't like when people highlight it to you that you may be building or taking decisions and building things on weak, false foundations. This is like having false assumptions or believing, jumping into conclusion based off hearsay. And so whatever you had assumed is being shattered and destroyed because the foundation was super weak, unreliable, and just false. And this energy is clarifying the main energy, which is the Ten of Cups. So it's like your whole happiness, the basis on which you rely to be completely fulfilled and happy, has been taken away from you. And the reason why it has been taken away from you potentially is because it was built on uncertain, shaky, weak foundation. It has ran its course, and now it's time to rebuild elsewhere on more solid ground, more stable situation, more open, honest communication without faulty wiring or faulty pipes. So do you tend to jump? And also it's a very striking thing, because the Ten of Cups is normally a beautiful, happy, fulfilled, nothing can touch this card. It's almost like the sun, but in the minor arcana at the emotional level. But the cups being emotion based, this is like a whole lot of emotion being tumultuous. So this is like a rogue wave out of nowhere coming at this boat on the ocean and completely flipping it on the side and sinking it, like the Poseidon story and movie. Also, if you are, well, I know you are a water sign, ergo emotional and very in tune with yourself, but if you let the negative aspect of emotions overrule you, making you jump to conclusions, then of course your emotionality will be taken advantage of against you by whoever else outside of you or by yourself, because you believe outside forces to be true when they are not, and thus they are shaking your foundations and your grounding so hard that all your cups, all your emotions are spilled all over the place, breaking this beautiful sense of happiness and quietude and replenishing fulfillment that you otherwise bask in. And that's just very sad, and, well, I would say heartbreaking, but it's really just, don't allow outside things to have that much power over you, so that they threaten your happiness, your stability, your fulfillment, your emotional homeostasis. Next up, anxiety. When you get anxious, nervous, sensitive cord, like what is your what strikes your sensitive chord with others? And this speaks about a couple of, well, it's one main thing but broken into various sub-chapters. It's about community but also higher commitment, and the two have always been interlinked in our society. Marriage usually goes through the church and the priest, because the priest has this key role of keeping the community together by keeping traditions alive and well and healthy and especially respected. So are you a free thinker, free liver who is not exactly keen on bending the knee to established authority figures, especially when it's generational thingy? Like the meme pops to mind, culture is just peer pressure from the dead. But if that culture is in which you live, have been born into, and how you normally live by, or the rules by which you abide, how comfortable you are respecting them, all the while respecting your own boundaries and happiness and self-fulfillment, going back to that Ten of Cups. And how does respecting this, or going slightly against, can bring forth energies that do destroy the establishment, which is the house of God, which is the Tower. Ooh, and there's being not quite, well, actually playing unfair in this setting of harmonized tradition, higher commitment, hierarchical rules, and respecting commitments and stuff. So you get anxious when maybe you're called out on playing unfair in this context of, and especially the word matrimonial, not being matrimonial subdued. This is clearly what pops to mind as I'm seeing these two figures being knelt or kneeling before the Pope to receive pardon, forgiveness, insight, or whatever. The Five of Swords speaks about playing unfairly, being petty, being gaslighting people, and using unfair advantage over the others to win the game that you're playing. For example, let's say someone's weakness is alcohol. So you will set up a party, like a small you and them, and maybe that's about it. And you know that their weakness is alcohol, so you have the bar open, and under the guise of having a chill little evening, just pour wine or scotch or rum or whatever alcohol, and you just take a sip with them, and you invite them to refill their glass, and refill and refill and refill until you know that they're in a state of vulnerability where you can take advantage of them. All the while they have been refilling 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, you refill only once, to falsely give them this reassurance that you are both in this game, but really you are the one leading an unfair game where you get them drunk to have them in a vulnerable, weakened state where you can take advantage of them and get information out of them because the wine speaks, or maybe get something in their head, Inception style, or whatever the case is. You are playing unfair by playing their own vulnerabilities against them, and this is in relation to a higher level commitment. So your life partner, husband, wife, whatever higher status partner, or in general someone who is having a higher impactful importance in your day-to-day life. And it's not an employer, because I would have another card for that. So this is definitely more intimate partnership, but on the higher level, and it's getting you anxious because this card, the Hierophant, is all about being absolutely fair, respecting the rules, following a strict code of ethics and dogma and all that stuff, whereas the Five of Swords is the complete opposite, is knowing your enemy's weakness to use them against them for your own personal benefit. And if this is causing you anxiety, it's because you know in your heart of hearts, in your soul, that you are being unfair to whoever or whatever this Hierophant represents in your life, and you're feeling guilty because you are playing them dirty. And it's being anxious is a natural reaction because you are fearing that they will catch up on your games, lose their tolerance, their acceptance, their passivity to you and your schemes, and eventually retract and pull back their loving, kind, forgiving energy. And so this causes further down the line your 8 and 10 of swords, or it's a 10, that your current anxiety, because you are not playing fair, will grow over time into more and more and more, like a build up, and it will cause you so much anxiety that eventually it's bound to have an end of a cycle and a backstabbing energy and just moving out of this toxicity. But the problem here is, I'm doing this read for you, Pisces, and this is your anxiety spot, like what gets you anxious. If you don't like the establishment of the community, the sacred rituals, the sacredness of holy unions as seen by the church and perpetuated and kept alive by practitioners, and the confines and the bindings that this represents, by you playing unfair to have your own way all the while being in it, it's sort of counterproductive because you're hurting yourself and the person involved in this. And I mean, no shit, it gives you anxiety. It's just a bad position to be in. But it does also have advantages, so I get why you are staying, because this is stability, this is security, this is living by what has been tested and proved to work and to never fail, because the Hierophant will never try, or will reluctantly try new things, being so anchored in the past, the test, the proved, the solid reliability of what has worked for him and his kind and his people and his community throughout the centuries, and that is why he is here now. This is absolute solid ground compared to your previous card, the Tower, which was built on false, shaky foundations or sand instead of solid ground like the Hierophant and his church is built upon. Moving along, inferiority. So this is your inferiority complex, where you feel not as, where you lack confidence. And what is the root cause? What is the primordial lack? What do you feel is lacking so that you need to be defensive, have the upper ground against those rats, whatever that is. Yeah, it's little rats. So this woman is on her bed trying to fend off herself from the creepy crawly rats at the bottom. And so again, my question is, well, you know what, let's flip the card. What is, oh, there it is. There it is, because you did have I mean, technically, as per this read, you will have the 8 of Swords in your 5th position, what you rarely talk about, and you have the 10 of Swords in self-loathing, self-forgiveness. And I was wondering where the 9 was, but there it is. Your anxiety, you don't sleep, you have poor sleep at this moment, and it's because your room, your privacy, where you feel the most vulnerable and safe, is invaded by rats, literally. And it's also interesting how we have 2 cards depicting a bed. It's the most intimate, vulnerable place in the house, where you literally lay down in hopes of having a restful night. And so you are first off stripped of your shoes, so something that protects your feet if you want to get off and just walk away. Normally you're also stripped of your civil daytime clothes if you use a pajama or nightgown, or if you sleep naked. So depending on what you wear at night, your level of vulnerability and trust that you are safe is ever more so exponentially greater. Because if you have a pajama, you still can run out and move comfortably. If you wear a nightgown, it's already more a step more vulnerable and more, but also feminine, and also more restrictive, as you cannot run as comfortably as if you were wearing pants. And if you sleep naked or in your undies, you're a step even further. Like if an emergency happens and you have fire or something, you have to scramble to get something on, whereas pajama is sort of sufficient-ish. But let's get back to this. Inferiority complex, and it's really causing you a shitload of worry and anxiety and sleepless nights, and carrying your daytime worry, which, since this is following your previous one, is getting you anxious, playing unfair, being unfair, playing tricky games. This is so heavy on your mind and on your soul that it carries into the night. And so you are aware that it's not fair and honest and just, but you are somehow defending your actions, your motivations, your motives, or your drive to act in that way. But at the same time, it's not having the effect you potentially would have loved to or hoped for, and instead it's just this vicious cycle of being unfair, especially towards established authorities, but then defending yourself to defend those actions. But there is stress and worry, and all those ideas and thoughts and memories sort of gnawing at you, and like just biting your ankles and your toes, and just being pesky, like a pest, literally. And so you do not have this hoped or desired restful night, so you can recuperate and have a clear mind the next morning. But if you feel inferior in this, it's like you feel inferior because you know that your battle to defend yourself and having the upper ground is shady and shoddy and not justified in the light in which you think you normally should be. Something in the equation is not correct. 1 + 1 = 2, but you make it equal 3 or 5 or 7 or something else, and it's just the math is not matching up, and you consciously know that you are cheating the system somewhere, but you refuse to address that. And it's like you know it's there, but you don't want to confront it. So it's leaving you exhausted, deplenished, empty, and just in this never-ending cycle and loop of torment and nightmares and bad thoughts, because you are your own most honest critic and judge, and you know that you're in the wrong in this situation, whatever this is for you. But you are still keep fighting and keep wanting to have the upper position, the view on the landscape, and the higher and mightier reason or will or drive or stamina. But it's also costing you a whole lot of energy, and it's exhausting. You are basically fighting a losing battle here, Pisces, and I'm sorry for that. Okay. Anger. What qualities in a person do you most dislike or have difficulty dealing with? Anger is fear in disguise. And the star is about wish fulfillment. So you don't, or it triggers your angry reactiveness when others are calm and poised and seemingly rising above the challenges and healing themselves, having their wish granted. And interestingly enough, the star follows directly the Tower card. So after someone has gone through this absolute destruction and upheaval of something that they have built, pardon me, the absolute massacre and destruction of the tower coming down because it was not meant to be, people managed to recenter themselves, nurture themselves, heal themselves, find growth and beauty and demeanor in that situation. And this absolutely angers you because you are primordially an emotional water-based sign as a Pisces, and you don't necessarily like how maybe emotions are not addressed. You how should I say this? You want to keep the fire alive. You want to keep that emotional trigger or whatever it was alive and well until it loses its flavor like a bubble gum, and you will chew on it until it loses its flavor. And it angers you when people seemingly move away as if nothing happened and just heal on their own, because you are trapped in that cyclical maelstrom of emotions that you cannot otherwise rationalize or stop in and just put in the ground and put behind you and move on from that. Ooh, but this is about being abandoned. Okay, so wait. Yeah, what qualities in a person do you most dislike or have difficulty dealing with? So this is anger. And you hate that even if someone has been abandoned and left in the cold, destitute and whatever, they are still graceful and beautiful and are healing on their own, by their own means, following whatever guidance from the universe and focusing on their own self-growth instead of focusing on the loss. Because as an emotional water sign, you definitely relish in things that bring sparkly emotions versus the stillness, and the stillness it requires for somebody to heal and renew themselves. This is very interesting. So it's a bit of jealousy, really, if you think about it. But jealousy is also envy, which, holy shite, envy was one of the oracle cards in Sagittarius. So there was toxic, envy, and something else. Are you envious of strong people who manage to heal on their own even when they're left out in the cold, or when they are deprived or something, or lacking resources because you yourself, you are too much set in your ways, playing unfair games, which cause anxiety? And I just realized I've been yapping for a moment and my camera was off, so I hope to God nothing much was lost. Oh, shite. Anyway, here you are in your secrecy, Personal secrets, family secrets, what do you feel people might find out about your insecurities? When I will review the footage, and I will see where the camera cut off for your previous cards, I will try to have a wrap up of what I said in the comment section below the video about your Star and Five of Pentacles combination in anger position. I'm sorry about this. I should have checked my camera screen monitor to see at what time I was on the previous segment, because yeah, cameras have a time limit of 30 minutes, which means I've been yapping for 30 minutes up until that point. But back to your secrecy, and whatever you're keeping secret is really having a toll on your mind, and you're being super stressed, but it's self-imposed. You have created this isolation, this imprisonment, this false trapped, this false sense of being trapped. You have brought this onto yourself, and you have created this for yourself with being overly too much in your headspace about every potential negative connotation, association, outcome, gossip, whatever thought process about whatever situation is related to the previous cards that we have seen so far. And something about the past. So you rarely talk about how something in the past has affected you so much that you are living in this constant self-imposed prison because you are overthinking things. And on one hand, this is good because the 8 is like a scale down from the 9 of Swords, which you had previously, but it's still in your current energetic force field. It's still plaguing you, it's still very dominant in your energy, and you are still very limited and controlled and bound by these toxic, negating, self-imposed, stress, worrisome, anxiety-driven thoughts. And the thing is, if you do not address this, if you do not find an outlet to express yourself, this will fester, and this will ruin your whole life, especially your present. And my question is, why would you allow something from the past to have that significant power over your present and potentially your future? Because the more you carry this energy within you in the present, the more it will linger in the potential future if you do not address it. Image-wise, the 8 of Swords. Notice how there is no swords in front of her or in the back of her. She could technically just try a few steps to the back and see if she has an opening, or straight up come towards us, the viewer, and walk free. Or she could walk to the side, sort of test the grounds to see where the swords are, where the cutting blade or the cutting edge of the blade is, undo the binds that are binding her, especially the hands, after which she could lift the blindfold, after which she could take a sword or two with her and be on her merry way, instead of complacently staying there in this comfortable self-imposed stress and anxiety in which she is almost relishing. Yeah. And also notice how her foot is coming underneath her robe and tapping into the water. So she does have a footing in her emotion. She's aware that emotionally this is toxic and festering and just being absolutely negative as fuck. she could be aware that the flow of this emotion in which she has a foot in is stemming from a set of negative thoughts, and specifically one set, since we have one sword touching this water source, whereas the other swords are firmly in the ground or barely touching the water source. So this one instance from the past that is causing all this pent-up anxiety and anger and worry and stress, it's a one thing that she has multiplied into 8 things that are now surrounding her, and it's a self-imposed prison. But if she has the mental fortitude and the strength to leave the past in the past and break her binding and her, well, not exactly chains, but you get the gist of it, she could transform and give back this past nostalgia, the beautiful, ethereal, innocent energy that it truly is, and not this toxic, dark, alone, torturing energy. Your final cards, and we're still good. Okay. Self-loathing, self-forgiveness, self-love. What you self-loathe, you can self-forgive under the right circumstances, so that you can self-love and learn to love again yourself and surrounding energies. Also notice how her hair is long and all over the place, so this is definitely the same character, from the previous card, compared to this one when her hair is more stylized in a beautiful wavy way, which we had in this card, making me realize that the more someone, or actually you specifically, since I'm reading for you, the more you are playing these unfair games to win at all cost, the more you are driving yourself in this situation of feeling stressed, burdened, and anxious, because you know that you are not playing fair, and you are judging yourself, you're holding yourself accountable, but you're being defensive about it when you are cognizant enough of it, when you admit to yourself that you're not being fair, but it's still causing you a shitload of anxiety and stress and mental anguish and torture with these 2 cards, because you are not respecting yourself enough to admit that you're in the wrong and that you could do things differently to get out and away from this situation. And the way that you are handling it, and the way you are perpetrating your own actions in any given situation that is leading you to this whole mess. And this is about either a choice to be made or your very significant other partner, which, if we go back to the Hierophant card, could be your spouse, your life partner, your soulmate, if you believe in that, or just a very highly important person. Life partner, husband, wife, that type of deal. Also, interestingly, the Lovers, number 6, follows directly Hierophant, the number 5, which you also want number 5 here. So there is change. If you want to step out of your anxiety and false games that lead you to sleepless nights and anger and frustration and being depleted, also having to fight things and being overburdened by stress and worries, you should definitely consider working on moving away from toxicity unhealthy situations and places, like we had in the first few cards that popped out while I was shuffling for you with the Six of Swords. And this could be also you moving away from a bad situation to work on yourself, to heal your own actions and responses and the way you allow other things and people to influence you and have an impact on you. But let's get back to this. Self-loathing, self-forgiveness, self-love. And it's an end of a cycle, and it's a backstabbing, and it's about a partner or decision. But since we had a whole lot of people giving you anxiety and stress and community being unfair and all that stuff, a whole lot of people here, I'm gonna see or interpret, translate the Lovers as definitely someone and not something, not a, well, choice definitely is still relevant, but more definitely focused on someone. So my question here, pieces, little fishies, has the chain reaction of you being unfair in a highly committed situation and being defensive about your choices, has that driven you to be backstabbed by this figure of authority with which you were mingling, or are you the one doing the backstab? And also notice that here we have at least two swords who have reached deep enough in the character to have blood drawn. So this hurt very deeply. This hurt potentially your partner very deeply, or this hurt you very deeply. And you are the only one to be blamed because you are the one who played unfair games and stood your ground and were super defensive about this ordeal or this set of situation. And if you are cognizant enough to admit fault, you could ask for reparation and forgiveness, as we saw with the Judgment card very early on in your spread. And this second coming, this forgiveness, this second chance could alleviate your own personal stress and worry with the 8 and the 9 of Swords, but also eventually repair your whole relationship with this otherwise traditional figure in your life that is the Hierophant. And so you could build anew on a more stable ground. But for that you have to admit fault and ask for forgiveness and work on building this new foundation, this new tower, this new castle, this new stability. And that might involve seeking outside help and resources like therapy, whichever sort of, or journaling, or just addressing weaknesses and uncertainties within you that you could patch and make stronger. Let's say you are a house and you notice a crack. At first you don't do anything because it's just a little crack. I mean, it's not worth it, not even a coat of paint. But then that cracks becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and patches of paint start to fall off, and you see the concrete or the wood or whatever beneath, and then there's this whole hole in the wall, and now you're like, fuck. So maybe a coat of paint or taking that little part, sanding that part of the wall would have helped prior you get the whole chunk of paint falling off and having the hole in the bricks and in the concrete and in the wall. Maybe it would have helped. So when you are held accountable for your own actions, I know it's super difficult, but try to listen to what people are telling you and try to take in without being overly emotional about it, although it is your sign. Like me, a Leo, I'm a fixed sign, I'm super stubborn, so that's on me to like try to work and be a little more flexible with things. And in your case, you have to learn to take in, to accept, to be less emotionally reactive, to give that much power to other people over you and the consequences of your actions. Admit fault if fault is, which in your case there is. We have with the Five of Swords. I'm sorry to be this blunt, and well, actually I'm not. I'm here to highlight problems that you're having so that you can address them, so you can heal and become stronger and better and healthier. So I'm not apologizing. And so if you can find it in yourself to be either to grant this second chance or to be granted this second chance by your significant other, we could end this very toxic, very bad cycle and start anew with this sun shining light on, and course correct behaviors in order to be more grounded, more solid, more open, more transparent, but also respecting other people's ideologies and culture, traditions, values, especially with the Hierophant. The Hierophant is all about respecting the set values of the people that came before us, which has granted us this comfort, this luxury in which we are living and basking in today. So then, now I will re-zoom out, have all the cards in the center, and try to have a wrap-up message, and then we're gonna shuffle some oracle cards and see where that takes us. And hopefully I will not yap for like half an hour and lose some precious words and footage. And we're back with the final wrap-up. If you want to take a screenshot and keep this as a memory, a keepsake, something to look at and ponder and have your own self-analysis and stuff, it's also a reason why I lay out the cards like this. You can also sort of navigate your own instinct, like what is above what is under what is how the cards are connecting and stuff. And so I was drawn back to this combination of the 5 and 5 here. If you are playing shady, unlawful games with someone who is traditional, who is potentially not an ecclesiastic but spiritually more in tune with the universe and God at the genuine level, like the star is, I wouldn't recommend that. These people, especially if they're genuine, they're protected by the universe, by God, by whatever high authority is ruling outside of our little mundane world, and karma doesn't miss an address. So the more you are being selfish and ego-driven against someone of that status and background, the more you are precipitating yourself towards the 8 to 9 and the 10 of swords, but especially the 8 and 9. It's like you're asking for trouble. But if you can find in yourself to let your guard down and allow healing and understanding and analyzing stuff without being overly reactive and too emotional and just limited in your own beliefs, you could also heal and live this destitute energy where you feel alone, having to fight and fend for yourself against the whole exterior forces to you. But you also have to abandon tricky games. You have to abide by the rules of engagement and be honest and make wiser decisions. Are you fueling and watering what is potentially healthy with the apple, something that you can replant and live off of, that you can depend on? Or are you fueling the destructive fire that feel good in the moment but bring nothing but destruction and endings in the end? Ending relationships, ending situations, ending friendship, ending stability, ending comfort, which leave you in the 5 of Pentacles position, which another 5. So there is like a whole lot of change. And also, like I was saying, if you play stupid, shady, shoddy, unfair games with someone who is more traditional, settled, and reliable, you're highly at risk of ending being rejected, being abandoned, being left out in the cold, and there's no amount of being defensive that you can do to prevent that. They might stay because it looks better, but emotionally, psychologically, they could be completely checked out, and there's no amount of you being defensive and trying to spin the narrative in a way that the light is better shining on you that will change their view on the situation. Not everyone can be emotionally manipulated with the right words or ideas or actions. So if you can have a little retreat and like focus on yourself, admit whatever you did was out of bounds, to admit fault, to receive forgiveness, to heal, to become stronger and start a new cycle built on more solid, more reliable ground, that would be ideal. So these were the messages for Pisces, your shadow work, aka the most predominant energies in your vicinity, whatever, in your surrounding at the moment. We will go into what's blocking you and where's my what lies beneath. What lies beneath. These are excellent for shedding a bit more light, and then we will go into higher future self to your right now advice, like a little positive encouraging word, and then shadow work. So then let's see what pops out from here. Anything for pieces, please? Whoa, chillaxos. Too much work, which was your first card that popped out before I did your spread. The 10 of Wands, if you remember from the very early on. Fear of loss, this would be your 5 of Pentacles. Being abandoned, losing something. It can be anything, not just financial based. It can be just stability that the Hierophant brings, the comfort, the reassurance. Outdated, expired, disused, or news discarded. So who has these thoughts, this way of thinking? This is in direct relation to the Hierophant. So here, who is the Hierophant and what concepts are outdated, in whose view, whose interpretation of the situation? Reiki police. I didn't know we had this card. Apparently we do. So there is again the sense of authority, respecting boundaries, respecting rules, respecting everything that has been laid before us. So much work. I don't have that card here, but we do have this card here. Actually, let me fetch you, because it was in your poppity pop. Not so far. Too much work. We have I will search if it comes relevant. Oh, bloody hell, English words. Next up. Outdated something. Oh yeah, sort of ish. Outdated. It's from the past. So, but is it really, or is this somebody's interpretation and perception of something being outdated, and you know, is it factual or is it an interpretation? You are the rare flower that blossoms in the dark. Keep growing. Do we have something? Yep. Keep healing. Keep growing. As you connect to spirit, you draw closer to your higher self. So this will be the Hierophant too. Because the Hierophant is the direct bridge between you in the 3D sack of flesh and bone and this human body, and the stuff out there that we are not aware of, because scientifically no interest, and because people have difficulty believing in things that they cannot touch with the five senses. Except, as we all know, cats and dogs have a wider range of audio and sight and shit, so why are we thinking that we know everything based on only five senses and a limited set of five senses? I'm just saying. Shadow work, final cards. Shadow dance. When you move shadows, you discover your rhythm. Fluidity, movement, open. But also when you address your shadows, you cast a light on them so you can heal those aspects of yourself. And this is so cool. We have like 2 dance cards. So like, are you a dancer? Do you like movement? Does it, like, if it sets you free and makes you feel connected to the world, definitely do that. I mean, express yourself, heal yourself, and if it's through dance, do that. It's a beautiful physical activity, and being in the flow and emotion, maybe you can like tap into random thoughts that will give you insight on something. Embrace the void. Your true potential is waiting to be discovered. Emptiness, creative power. Emptiness, creative power. So from this 5 of Pentacles to this 10 of Swords, ending of a cycle, you have, and in between the 10 and the Ace, or the next Ace, you have this void which you can utilize to create something spanking brand new and just beautiful and amazing, and a whole other avenue. So I would totally suggest dance in the wind and find something that fulfills you. So then, Pisces, this was your shadow work spread. I hope I brought some sense of insight, some help. And remember, my role here, the purpose of this video, is to shed light on problematic situations and energies which you are now currently confronting, so you are aware of them, so that you can address them, so you can heal those issues, become stronger, stable, happier. I'm the broken people's mechanic. My duty is to highlight you what piece, what aspect is broken, non-functioning, and how you can potentially, with my aid or the aid of other outside resources near you that you trust in, can help you work on those issues, so to have a better functioning vehicle, so you can go further in your life without weird noises and scary situations on the road. With all that being said, thank you for having shared your energy with me during this read. I hope you truly all the best. Peace and love. Love you. Stay peachy. And I will see you potentially in the next read. I don't know when. So have a lovely day, my dear Pisces. Keep on swimming, keep on swimming, keep on swimming. Ciao, ciao.